Hey guys, this will be the last and final video in which we talk about our end of semester assessment, the portfolio. The portfolio is a little complicated to explain. Most students, whenever they hear me slowly going over instructions, a lot of times they kind of think, oh my gosh, this is going to be so much to do. But actually, it's not as bad as it sounds. Most students have said, once I sat down and started doing this assignment, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So it's a lot to explain. It's got several pieces to it. So let's just kind of go over this slowly. You can find several resources in our portfolio folder. You'll see of 6 of the items, you're going to see Beyond the Blank Page, which has several examples of students' essays for the portfolio. You also have a tentative outline for one of those essays in Beyond the Blank Page, and you will be looking at this file from Beyond the Blank Page for your application practice number 7. So you will get some practice with the portfolio later next week. Then, of course, we've got the prompt and the rubric, which I will go over with you. I've got a PowerPoint presentation to cover to help kind of break this down, maybe give you a sample of what a paragraph might look like. And then these reflection questions for everyday writer. You're going to be doing this for your pre-writing. I will show you a list of questions. You'll respond to those questions. And then a lot of students use what they write for those questions to help them write their reflective essays for the portfolio. So first of all, what I would like to say is there are going to be 3 items that you turn in to me. Go ahead and pull up the prompt. There are going to be 3 items that you will turn in to me by July 29th, the very last day of the semester. You will need to write a brand new essay, and then you're going to take 2 of the 3 drafts that you've worked on for me between the rhetorical analysis, the causal argument, and the proposal argument. You will take 2 of those 3 drafts and you're going to revise them again based on the feedback that I give you on your final drafts. So again, you're doing a brand new reflective essay. This is not something that you have written before. It's going to be a brand new essay. In that essay, you are going to be talking about how you have grown as a writer in this class, or maybe how you haven't grown as a writer in this class, whether that be because maybe you knew most of the information coming in, but this class was a great practice time for you. Or maybe it was because you really struggled with time management for whatever reason. Maybe things happened with your family or at work, and you felt like that impacted your writing process. And then again, 2 revised final drafts. So you'll take your final 2 of your 3 final drafts with my comments on them and the grade that I give you. And then you will take those drafts and revise them again based on those comments. So you're kind of graded in 2 ways for this assignment. You're graded for your reflection in your essay, where you reflect on how you've performed throughout the course and how your essays have transformed throughout the course. And then the second way that you're being graded is by, do you really understand the writing process? Are you able to take my comments and make changes to documents to build more effective, stronger essays? So You've got the due dates on there for Friday, July 22nd. I am only expecting you to give me your reflective essay. You do not have to submit your revised versions of your rhetorical analysis, causal argument, or proposal argument yet. You can do that for the last due date, that final draft due date. So, okay, let me continue explaining. I'm going to try to explain this many different ways over the course of this time. So for the prompt, for a college level audience, compose a reflective essay for your course portfolio. Now, portfolio is something you see artists do a lot of times. You see business people do. They show work that they have done throughout a certain period of time. If you think about going into a tattoo shop and you want to know what this artist is all about, whether or not you want to commit to that artist, they might have a little binder there for you to flip through and look at previous tattoos that they've done. Or a lot of portfolios are on Instagram now. So let's say you're looking at a tattoo artist from Carbondale and you don't really want to set up an appointment. You don't want to go get this tattoo. You want to look and see what they've done first. And so that's a portfolio is a collection of work that you have done. And then you're doing, as I said, a reflective essay to go along with that collection. So in this essay, this reflective essay, you're going to be applying your knowledge of the writing process. You're going to think about how you developed as a writer, or your lack of development maybe as a writer, that development or lack thereof, how it relates to the essays that you've been writing over the course of the semester. So in other words, if you say, I really developed my skill for gathering evidence and using scholarly sources. That would be a great example that you could then look at your essays and see, you could say, see, here's where I have incorporated some credible outside research that I've maybe struggled with in the past. And then the third thing, the text. So your essays, the 2 of the 3 essays that you're looking at, you are going to be examining those essays and walking us through the revisions that you made in between drafts. So again, the portfolio should include 3 documents, a reflective essay, and then 2 revised essays of your choice. So there will be 3 documents total. These next few paragraphs here give you some background information. I've underlined the most important sentences. The most important component of this portfolio is the new composition, the reflective essay. Without that reflective essay, it can't grade you appropriately. It makes an argument about what you have or have not learned over the course of the semester as you provides an overview of your revised work, comments on the processes and feedback that have contributed to those essays, their current status, their grades that they've gotten. What about your essays have earned the grade that they received? Most of you are probably going to give yourself some kind of positive assessment. However, I do want to encourage you there are creative ways to look at this. I have had students say, I've grown in this class. I was able to learn some new skills that maybe I didn't know beforehand. I was able to practice writing longer essays in a shorter amount of time. And you should give yourself a positive assessment. If you feel like that's maybe not been your experience in the class, then it's perfectly okay to say, you know, I didn't learn a whole lot in this class. I was able to practice some skills that I already was able to have. I felt confident in my information literacy skills, my research skills, my writing skills. And this class gave me a chance to really prove and validate where I feel like I'm at on my writing journey. You can do that. You can also say, I did learn a lot. I feel like my performance suffered because maybe I struggled with anxiety or got caught up in time management or something like that. There are several creative ways. Your thesis statement doesn't have to be, I grew, period. There's a lot of nuance there. There's a lot of, you each have a unique experience with this class. And so articulating that in this essay will be important. And we'll go over more of this, of course. This essay is going to be 5 to 7 pages. A lot of students are like, oh my gosh, how am I going to reach 5 to 7 pages? I have good news for you. You get to quote your own essays in this giant reflective essay that you're doing. So, and truthfully, I've had a lot of students say that once they start writing about themselves, it's actually pretty easy to keep writing. And I've had students hit 7 pages easily before. Some students struggle with getting beyond 4, but you know, it just kind of depends on where your reflective skills are at and what all you have, how your performance has been in the class, and how invested you were in the class and things like that. So there are a lot of factors here besides just filling in the space for 5 to 7 pages. And then of course you have 2 readings that are in your additional readings folder as well as your portfolio folder as well. We go ahead and show you the rubric really quickly. So unlike your other rubrics, which have been part of holistic grading, this is actually a part that is called analytical grading. That means that each category in which you score has a certain number of points with that category. So if we're thinking about characteristics of an A paper, B paper, C, D, these numbers, so 20 points out of 20 points is an A, 17 out of 20 points is an 85, 15 is a 75, 13, 65, and then 11, of course, 55 points. So, but there are several different categories you'll be scored in. Rhetorical knowledge. So this is all about how you organized your essay. Did it have a clear purpose? Was it organized well? Did it provide a lot of evidence? Did it conclude strongly? Those types of things. Just an overall, were you able to compose an effective essay for a college audience? That's what rhetorical knowledge is about. The critical thinking, reading, and writing is more about the conclusions that you draw with your evidence and with your observations that you're making about yourself and your essays. So with critical thinking, we're thinking that you are able to draw really profound connections about your essay. You're able to say, you know, I think my essay received this grade because the organization was doing this, and my evidence was really strong here, but maybe really weak here. And then providing that evidence. Writing is a process. This is whenever all 3 documents come into play. Based on how all 3 documents perform that you're submitting, where is your understanding of the writing process? Are you able to take comments, and are you able to articulate why those changes, why those revisions are important to make? Or is that a struggle for you to incorporate those revisions into your essay? Or is it hard for you to make changes? And some things are easier than others. So this one, there's a lot of interpretation that goes into this category. Grammar mechanics, that's something that I haven't been grading you on, not strongly at least. I've been grading you on things more like your language choices and style, but I haven't been grading you over grammar, spelling, punctuation, those types of things. So this category includes a lot like style, but also grammar and mechanics. So you will notice it's the same amount of points as the other three categories, but um, a lot of students kind of end up in this range, and it doesn't greatly impact the letter grade that they receive a lot of times. Sometimes it does. So just keep in mind making sure you stick with an academic tone, using strong language, bold, mature language. And then, of course, now we're talking about the last 10 points are kind of how you've constructed this portfolio altogether. So have you submitted all three documents? Have you labeled all three documents? Have you used them and cited them in your reflective essay as well? So if your reflective essay, you decide to look at your rhetorical analysis and your and your causal argument, making sure that you actually talk about those two essays in your reflective essay that you do. Now I would like to show you the reading that you will be doing for your application practice number 7. So this is a book that CIMO put together as far as ways that students can reflect on a semester's worth of progress. So with this chapter, like the other chapters you've read for work in progress, you have an introduction to what the portfolio is. In your application practice number 7, I ask you to define what a portfolio is based on these 3 pages here. And then you get a lot of student examples. Insert title. Who even was I? Confident. Fried Brains, Achieving Higher Thinking. Very clever title. A Basic Course, or So I Thought. Reflection of EN 100. All of these are examples of a reflective introduction that you can look at. I'll walk through my writing career as well. We're going to talk about that in a little bit more detail. So you you are doing different essays than the EN 100 class that CIMO does. However, they did essays called the Literacy Narrative, Informative Essay, Observation of a Discourse Community. Those are the 3 essays that they did. So if you would like to, whenever you're reading these, substitute something like a literacy narrative in place for rhetorical analysis, feel free to do so if that helps you stay organized. But anyway, you've got a lot of student examples. I ask you to also read one of these examples and reflect on that in application practice number 7. This is an outline that I made of Grace Faust's essay from Beyond the Blank Page. So I looked at every single paragraph that she did. She has a total of, I believe, 6, 7, 8, 9. I believe she has 9 paragraphs that she writes. And I kind of organized it into an introduction, a body, a conclusion. You may notice that it kind of looks like she started with the 5-paragraph essay. We have an introduction, then we have section 1, section 2, section 3, going over each essay that she decided to cover. And then she has a conclusion. So what she might have done is used the 5-paragraph structure to help her write a much longer piece, which is exactly what the 5-paragraph essay is done for. So you can duplicate a structure like this, or you can completely do your own structure. But here's her thesis statement, and this is a type of thesis statement that you can use. These 2 essays show how I've strengthened my drafting process, improved my recent research skills, and how I've enhanced my descriptive language. In addition to the knowledge I have gained, I will be analyzing common weaknesses throughout my essays. So that's, it's not a perfect thesis statement. There are a couple of recommendations that I would have for this thesis statement. There are a couple of things that you should notice about this thesis statement. One, Grace describes how she has developed in this course. She says that she has developed positively. She has strengthened her skills, improved her skills, and enhanced her skills. So with that type of language, Grace clearly identifies what type of development she has had and the direction for how this reflective essay is going to go. This is going to be, I really improved these skills. I strengthened my skills. I enhanced my skills. Then she moves on to the first essay that she looks at. Second section, she moves on to the second essay that she's looking at. For the third section, she discusses that third essay, but she actually in just 1 paragraph explains why she decided to not look at that essay. So you can choose whichever 2 of the 3 essays that you want. You can choose your rhetorical analysis and your causal argument because those are the 2 shortest of the essays. Or you can choose the causal and the proposal because the 2 kind of go together and you did them most recently and you'd rather focus on those. Or maybe you just really hated the causal argument and you just don't want to fool with it anymore. That's totally fine. That's something really important to say. You obviously do not have to talk about the third essay if you don't want to. However, if you decide to, you know, this is an option for you, seeing the model and what Grace does. For each of the sections about the essay, she kind of introduces the essay and says, hey, this is what everything's all about. By the way, I would encourage you to look at her essay if you haven't, to kind of follow along with this outline. But she introduces the essay. She says, okay, these are the comments that my peers and instructors gave me about this draft. And then in a third paragraph, she says, these are the revisions that I made to that essay. And then she repeats that again for the second essay, and she gets to about 5 pages with that. So 2 more things I want to show you. These are the questions that you'll be doing for pre-writing. How would you describe your development as a writer down here? I mean, yeah, that's essentially the thesis of your essay. So if you would like to write about this question, that's the thesis of your whole paper. What major questions do you still have about the class? Maybe there's something that you didn't learn that you really wanted to. That could work as a conclusion for you. What lessons have you learned from writing, from an individual piece, or maybe this course? That could function as an introduction. What about your writing do you feel most confident about? Why do you feel that way? That's a reflection of what did I do well and why did I do well? Or where do I have weaknesses? And maybe why do I have weaknesses there? What do I need to do to improve those weaknesses? These are all related questions that you will somehow more than likely be answering in your reflective essays. So again, that's going to be your pre-writing. Last thing I'll show you. I have a slideshow presentation for each of my classes because I do the portfolio for all of my classes. It's not just you, it's all of them. So I kind of want to explain the difference between whenever we're talking about analyzing your previous essay, maybe what an example part of a paragraph could look like for you. So let's look at what's the difference between an A paragraph of evidence and a B paragraph of evidence? So let's say between my second and final drafts of my rhetorical analysis, I added more evidence in the appeals to form a more rounded analysis. In the second draft, my presentation was well developed in Kairos, Pathos, and Ethos, but in the final draft, I redeveloped my presentation to include a discussion on logos. All right, so the orange is now what revisions you're making. For example, I embrace that the article was not supposed to be logos heavy given the time and nature of the article. And I added this to my essay. The article was an emotional response to a controversial speech that had been delivered the night before publication. Although the article does not appeal to logos as it does appeal to logos as it recounts the events, specifically the jokes, the article predominantly resonates with the other rhetorical appeals more than logos. As a result, the author provokes an immediate emotional reaction from the audience to continue the discussion and to interact with the website and organization. Okay, so I'm explaining what examples, what revisions I made, and then something important that I do is I quote my drafts, and I even have it cited there. So, but there's a second thing that we need to add. This discussion supported my original claim that the article was rhetorically effective because this discussion asserted why the appeal was unnecessary for the author's intended purpose. I hate that sentence. The analysis says why you made the revisions you did. So the orange is all about what revisions you made. The purple is all about why you made those revisions and why those revisions were important. The analysis part is really, really important. Citation guidelines, you can look at the examples and beyond the blank page to help you. This is how it would look like for you if you were using Shawnee Community College. So let's say it would be Thornsberry Sarah, rhetorical analysis on Ricky Gervais, period, ENG 112, rhetorical analysis final draft, comma, Shawnee Community College, comma, 2022. That's what you would do. And then to do an in-text citation, you would do the essay, the draft, and the page number. Rhetorical analysis, final draft, because you could be citing your second draft, and the page number 6. Okay, guys, that is all that I have for you, but just a quick recap. And let me pull back up the prompt here. Your very last assignment that you're doing for me is the portfolio. With the portfolio, you will be submitting 3 documents. The first thing, and the most important thing that you will submit to me, is a new essay, a reflective essay that's 5 to 7 pages long, in which you talk about your development and your essays that you have written over the course of the semester. Then you will take those same 2 re-revised essays and you will submit those as well. Again, if this assignment feels confusing, if it feels like a lot, go to Beyond the Blank Page, your text in the portfolio folder, as well as the application practice number 7, read one of the student examples that they have. I always encourage students to read. Most of the time, whenever students come to me and they say, Ms. Rosemary, I have no idea what they're doing. A lot of times I follow up with, have you looked at the examples in Beyond the Blank Page? And they say no. For a lot of students, that helps. So if you reach a point where you're kind of feeling stuck, look at the outline, look at the essays, look at the PowerPoint, make sure, you know, you're checking the list that you need to check. I have the utmost faith in you guys. I've enjoyed reading your essays thus far. And if you do have any questions, of course, you can email me and ask. All right, guys, best of luck. I'll let you go.